Alrighty, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. My name is Max Dickers. I'm an admissions officer here at Harvard. Thank you so much for joining us for this Google Hangout. We appreciate you jumping on, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of the great questions that have been flowing in already in the past 5-10 minutes or so. Before we get started, I was hoping to introduce my two wonderful co-presenters, current students. So why don't you girls introduce yourself? Gabby Thorne, how about you go ahead?
Alright. So hi guys, I'm Gabby. Gabby Thorne. I'm a rising sophomore, so I'll be a sophomore in the fall. I'll be living in Cabot House next year, and I'm originally from the Bronx, New York.
Great.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabby Giotti. I am originally from Everett, or Florida, and live in Everett, Massachusetts now. I'm studying government, and I'm a rising sophomore as well in Lowell House.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. So the two Gabby are working for our office this summer and helping out with the Harvard College Connection. Gabby Giotti, do you mind just describing a little bit what the Harvard College Connection does and how people can contact you, perhaps?
Yeah, sure. So Harvard College Connection is a group of 5 students who work here during the summer and throughout the school year, and they're basically here to offer any college advice and answer questions relating to admissions or student life. We are available every day at harvardconnection@g.harvard.edu. So if you want to contact us, please feel free to do that. We're really happy to talk to students and tell you more about what it's like to be a student here.
Excellent. Thank you. So what I'm going to do, guys, is spend about 8 to 10 minutes just giving you a really brief overview of what life is like at Harvard in the 3 broad categories of residential life and academics, and then what people get up to outside the classroom. After that, I'll turn it pretty much over to the Gabbies in terms of answering questions that you guys have presented, and we have a few questions of our own if we get through a lot. So I'll just go ahead and get started with a discussion about Harvard, and obviously we're going to be talking about Harvard College, which is part of the wider Harvard University network. As an undergraduate, you will be living. It's on campus. It's a 4-year residential experience, and this all kicks off freshman year when students live in one of 17 freshman dorms, and these dorms are all located in or around Harvard Yard. Harvard Yard is the geographic center of campus, and so first years really are at the heart of things immediately and all get to live in really the heart of campus and are 5 to 10 minutes away from any classroom building. They also all eat in this beautiful dining hall, which is on the slide right there. It really helps build a great first-year community for students and enables students to make friends right away and get settled very, very quickly. Help settle those nerves that seem to happen when first years arrive on campus. And then after the first year, our students will move into our house system. There are 12 upperclassmen houses. Each house is 350 to 500 students. It will have its own dining hall, its own library, its own athletic facilities. And it will really be a place that students call home for the remaining 3 years. You get assigned to houses in completely random, but you'll end up with your friends because you go together as a group. And so you're able to build a community on a smaller basis around this house life, which is really, really exciting. It will really be your home for the remaining 3 years, and there's a huge amount of pride associated with each of the houses. In fact, the class of 2012 took an exit survey, and one of the questions that they were asked was, which house do you think is objectively the best house on campus? And 97% of students said that their own house was objectively the best house on campus. So a lot of people are pretty happy with where they end up for those 3 years. That's sort of the living situation. Obviously, the primary purpose of being on campus is to learn, and there are 3,500 different courses to choose from. We have a fantastic student-faculty ratio, 7 to 1. And one of the concerns that might be out there is how much students actually get to interact with professors. And what you'll find is that because we have a small student-faculty ratio and a really small class size in general, students are really able to build relationships with professors over the 4 years. And that might be after class, it might be taking them out to dinner, or through office hours that every professor is required to have. So undergraduates, even at a research university like Harvard, are really able to go out there and build those relationships. Beyond the classroom, extracurricular-wise, students will be involved in a huge range of activities. There are 450 different things to choose from, and these range from 5 orchestras, 42 sports teams. We obviously have a huge commitment to the arts, dance, music, you name it. Politics groups, pre-professional groups, they all are available for students to take advantage of. And so I encourage you guys, as you're exploring the college, to learn more about the great extracurricular opportunities. As you might know, we're also very fortunate to be only 10 to 15 minutes away from downtown Boston, and students will go into Boston for all sorts of things. Fantastic food, the great sports teams, the history, the culture in the city, but also it's a really young city. There are 250,000 college-age students within a 10-mile radius of downtown Boston, and so our students will go into Boston, meet the other young people in the city through intercollegiate public service groups or intercollegiate sports, or just out and about taking advantage of the vibrant city. And then finally, one thing I wanted to touch on, which is really, really important, is financial aid. Many of you might be concerned about the cost of Harvard, and you know that higher education, college degree can be quite expensive. But Harvard is really, really committed to making sure that it is affordable. And we really want to make sure that the students that are admitted are able to come, and money is not an impediment to them turning up in the fall. And so we have a very generous financial aid program, which I encourage you to learn more about on our financial aid website. The basic figures are up on the screen. It's certainly something that you should be talking about with your families to make sure that they are aware about what the cost of college might be. A good thing to know is that generally for 90% of American families, Harvard is going to be the same price or cheaper than your in-state institution. And so we really are committed to making it as affordable as possible for many, many families. And over 60% of Harvard students are receiving some form of aid. So definitely learn more about that and check out our net price calculator, which is on our financial aid website. It is a fantastic resource for getting an estimate of how much you might be expected to spend. That was a really, really quick overview of what we want to talk about. And I see that there are some fantastic questions already up on the screen. And I'm hoping that we can turn it over to the Gabbies, and I'll pose some of the questions that you have. Perhaps, Gabby, you want to kick us off by just describing, in general, what has made Harvard such a great fit for you in this first year? What have you enjoyed this first year on campus?
I think by far one of my favorite things, and like one of the best things that I enjoyed this past semester, were the people that I met through the various extracurriculars I was involved in. So I'm very involved in cultural groups on campus, one of them being Association of Black Harvard Women and the other Fuerza Latina. And through that, I met some of my closest friends that I'll actually be living with next year. I met amazing upperclassmen that have literally helped me with almost everything, from like how to write a resume to like giving me books for one of my classes to just like helping me out with life. And honestly, the people here are really what make Harvard Harvard, and like they are what make it great and like an amazing place to be here. Like I honestly consider some of my friends more family than actual friends. So I think the people really made my life here.
Excellent. And Gabby G, we have a question from Hannah George. And she asks, what is the social atmosphere surrounding Harvard like? Is it quirky, fun in its own intellectual way? Does the workload stifle the social flame? So effectively, is Harvard too hard for you to have fun? Have you enjoyed your first year? What's it been like making friends?
So I think Harvard is very unique because we have people from everywhere and from every sort of background and idea. So you have kind of a very diverse social atmosphere, and there's something that is available for everyone. We have a lot of organizations that have concerts and social events throughout the year, which you can go and have fun with your friends. And so I just think it's very quirky because it is kind of diverse and there's a lot of options. And I never personally felt like the work was stifling my social flame. I just felt like there was a time for me to do my work, but then I also had a good amount of time to really socialize and get to know classmates and other people I met in organizations. So eventually I think students here find that balance and are able to get to know people around them. And the workload does not, for me, does not like make anything really hard in terms of making friends or socializing. I thought it was a not too hard of a transition.
Right. Fantastic. Gabby T. Abby asks, when you first visited Harvard, what non-academic characteristic influenced your decision to apply? You talked about the people and how great they are. Was there anything before you even applied that helped sway you in one way or the other?
Before I even applied, I think just the vast opportunities that you have here, from research to study abroad. Like for me personally, I really want to study abroad in my next coming 3 years, and it was really encouraging to know that Harvard was willing to pay for my study abroad opportunities and to have all those research opportunities and all these various resources that Harvard gives just besides just their academics. And like I said, the people are pretty amazing. So I think definitely the resources outside of academics are just like unparalleled.
Nice. And going back to Gabby T, sticking with you, talking about the resources outside of academics, how has the advising been? You've sort of touched on that. We touched a little bit on that, but how is the network of advisors in the first year for you?
So in your first year at Harvard, I think the advising is amazing. So there are 3 different types of advisors. There's the stereotypical academic advisor who's really there for any academic questions you really need. They can also be there for anything personal that you need. My academic advisor actually took me out to diner, and like I was eating pancakes and she was just asking me questions, and it was nice to get to know her and also get free food at the same time. So they're really there for any academic questions or anything else you need. We also have proctors, which are similar to residential advisors, but at Harvard, they're usually either graduates from the college or some other college, or even a staff member that works at Harvard, and they live with you in your entryway, which is about 16 to 40 people in either a vertical upway or a hallway, and they're just there, like they're kind of like the big mom or big pop of the entryway, and they're there for literally anything you need, from academic to personal to any emergencies. Since they do live with you in the entryway, if you ever have a problem at maybe like 2 a.m., you can easily go to them. I went to my academic advisor for questions about concentrations, which is our fancy word for major, questions about what courses I should take, and she was really helpful in like guiding me into like all these different avenues, and they're a very great resource. Lastly, we have these things called PAFs, or peer advising fellows, and they're upperclassmen, so sophomore, juniors, or seniors, and they're really just there for anything you need. They can become your friends, they can just become just another peer, a mentor, anything that you need from them. For me, my PAF has become one of my very close friends, and like I still hang out with her and talk to her on the weekends, and she's just a great resource for like anything that I ever needed. I could ask her academic questions, I could ask her life questions, I could just ask her like anything. And it's really great having all those 3 different support structures your freshman year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. On a related note, Gabby G, we had a question from Eugene Ha about what the professors are generally like, and spoke a little bit about how they're accessible. Have you found that to be the case in your first year? And are they really people that you want to meet? Are they teaching your classes, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think pretty much everyone kind of assumes or knows that Harvard professors are really some of the best in their field. So they're really definitely people you want to meet, whichever major you decide or want to study. They're just really intelligent people in general. And I found that at Harvard, there are professors who really do make a lot of effort to meet students. Like Max said earlier, they have weekly office hours, which is just an hour or 2 hour time that students can come in and ask them questions, talk about issues in the United States or in the world. It's really kind of up to you to what you want to talk to them. I had a professor in my freshman fall who set up weekly lunches with students, so you could lottery to be in a lunch with him, and he would come to our freshman dining hall and eat with 12 other students every week and just really talk about anything that's sometimes not even related to the class. Other professors, one that I had this spring was Steven Pinker, who is very well known in psychology, and he was very open and eager to meet students. One of my friends invited him to dinner completely casually to just talk about psychology or just to get to know him, and he came to our freshman dining hall out of his own time to meet with students. So I feel like you can definitely approach them, and you have that relationship if you want to form that. And you're also taught by them in every class, so every lecture you have is taught by a professor. So it's not like you're never going to see them at all.
Fantastic, thank you. We had a question, and I'm just trying to find it again. There was a question about, and going back to Gabby T, one thing, good or bad, that you didn't know that you found out when you arrived at Harvard. And I think this is actually from Anand Shankar. And I was wondering, you mentioned the good thing, the surprising to people. Is there anything particularly bad that you found when you transitioned to Harvard in this first year?
Anything bad? Wow, that's a tough question. I have to actually think about that. I think that. Sorry, I'm struggling here.
Oh,
Or Gabby G, if you have something that you want to jump in on.
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in, and then Gabby T could, if she wants to think of an answer. I personally felt like one bad thing, which is not completely bad, there is a lot going on campus, and there are a lot of extracurricular activities, classes, studying takes up a lot of your time, so it can, I mean, it's easy to get stressed, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I personally felt like even if I was feeling that way, there were a lot of resources. Like Gabby mentioned, you have 3 different types of resources you can go to, but you also have a lot of tutors and other peers who are really happy to help and kind of make you feel at home and not stressed. So that was one thing that I was overwhelmed by coming into college, was just a different schedule that I had to deal with that was completely different than my high school schedule.
Nice. No, absolutely. Gabby Thorne, have you thought of anything?
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Gabby on that. I think, sometimes we can get a little bogged down with, like, stress and stuff, and, like, I think, like Gabby said, there are a lot of resources on campus, and sometimes it honestly just means, like, taking a minute or taking 5 minutes just to, like, be with yourself, and I think that's just something that I had to learn once I came to college, because it wasn't really something I did in high school, and I think I would say, like, that's kind of a bad thing, but yeah, that's basically it.
No. Taking a break from you guys for a second. One question from Taylor further down in the list is would you say Harvard is undergraduate focused? It seems like it is focused on its graduate schools, and the best professors and resources would go to them. As I mentioned a little bit in the presentation, as an undergraduate, you aren't lost in the mix with all the graduate students. Professors are really there, and I think Gabby Girotti spoke to that a little bit with her interaction with professors. The resources and the university is really built around the college. The president of the university has said that the college is really the heart of everything. It is the lifeblood, and it keeps the overall university going. And I think that's true. You'll see that the university is surrounding the college, and really, especially the first years, are right in the center of campus and really able to focus of energy from administrators, graduate students, and professors. And so I don't think it's too scary for an undergraduate to be at a university like this. One of the advantages of being at a research university where there are graduate schools is that we have 3,500 courses in the undergraduate course catalog, but then there's also many, many more courses that our undergraduates are able to take at many of our graduate schools. And so you can go to the Graduate School of Education or the law school and take classes with graduate students, or those professors at those schools will be teaching a college-level course at the college. And so there's definitely an advantage. One other great thing is that there's a huge number of resources available. We have the largest university library system in the world. We have 12 academic museums. We have a fantastic collaboration with all the other schools for the Harvard Innovation Lab, which is a great course for budding entrepreneurs to test out their ideas and have venture capitalists come in and see what they're up to. And so it's really a fantastic resource for students all across the university. And our president is really, really stressing the importance of one Harvard. And so there's a lot of collaboration. And it's really an advantage for the undergraduates to be able to take advantage of that and really be in the midst of a lot of different things going on at once. Fantastic question. I see one question from Shamari Caesar, and perhaps Gabby Giotti, do you want to jump on this? Are there any campus traditions that you found particularly cool?
Yeah, so Harvard is all about traditions. We have so many of them, and they're really what makes like student life here so exciting. So my favorite one, my two favorite ones are probably Harvard Yale, which is our huge football game every fall against Yale University, and it takes place, it alternates between Harvard campus and Yale campus, and my freshman year I was here. So it's just a really exciting weekend, and it's been happening for many years, and it's just a fun rivalry that we keep on, and students get really excited about it. And then we have Housing Day, which is a huge Harvard holiday, and it's so much to explain in so little time. And basically, at the end of your freshman year, you pick the people that you want to live with for the next 3 years, and you form a blocking group, and this guarantees that your blocking group will be in the same house, because our housing system is completely random, so you can't choose or rank what house you want. And then on Housing Day, you and your blockmates in your blocking group find out what house you get, and it's, again, a very exciting day. All the upperclassmen go to Harvard Yard and try to get to the Harvard statue first. Everyone's wearing their house colors, chanting their house names, running around the yard, and then at 9 a.m. they all get letters with room numbers to go to, and then storm those dorms of students who got into whichever house, and it's just a huge celebration from then on. You go to dinner at your house. It's kind of a nice, like, closing finale of your freshman year, sort of, because it's been a build-up to this day to some people. You're finally welcomed into a house community, and so that's been probably my favorite day of the year, and it was just super exciting, and I can't wait to be a part of it in the future.
Excellent. Is there anything particular that you're looking forward to with house life?
So I haven't gotten actually into a house yet. So I'm in Lowell House, but I move in the fall, and from what I've been hearing, I'm just really excited for the community that is within the house. So as a freshman, you live in the Harvard Yard, and you're surrounded by only freshmen. So it can be kind of out of your ways to meet upperclassmen. So you usually do that through organizations or sports or something like that. So in the house, it's more, I guess, casual to meet upperclassmen, and I'm really excited to just have that opportunity and have that bond, even though we're just kind of brought together by our house. It's still a very diverse atmosphere, and I'm just really excited to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Gabby T., I see a couple questions. One is from Ingrid, and she asks how much co-curricular activities are Harvard students actually able to participate in while also balancing their academic life. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but some other students, John has asked, what is the optimal number of clubs and activities that students should join and still have time for their academic pursuits? So this is something that people are interested in. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're involved in, how you feel that balances with your workload? What's your average day look like in terms of going to class and then also doing extracurricular activities?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, like I said earlier, my two major extracurriculars this past year have been cultural groups, Association of Black Harvard Women and Fuerza Latina, and I love those groups so much that I decided to join on board for both of them, and I've been on board for this last year, and I'll continue to be on board hopefully for the next 3 years. And for me, I think it's been pretty easy navigating my extracurriculars and my academic life. I don't think I could tell you that there's an optimal number, because I think it varies from person to person. So I had those two main extracurriculars that I did participated in some political groups on campus, and helped plan Women's Week on campus. So I think it's really up to you to kind of determine what's best for you. In terms of my typical day, I think my day kind of changes from day to day. But usually I'd say between like 10 and maybe 2 p.m. I'd have at least a class or two, about an hour or so, and then after that kind of have some time to go to lunch, hang out with friends, do some work, and then usually around 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. I'd have a meeting for one of my clubs, or a board meeting, or some other type of meeting that I would go to, and then kind of come back and do work, hang out with my roommates, and that's basically kind of what my typical day is like, I'd say.
Fantastic. So. Thank you. And Gabby G, there seems to be a number of questions about the level of competition at Harvard. Are Harvard students competitive? One question is from Caesar, and he asks, is it healthy, unhealthy, or both? Was it a shock when you experienced it? How has it been for you? How have you found that your peers are very competitive? Is everyone going after the same grades in the class? Are there spots limited in classes and in extracurriculars?
Yeah, so I think that's something that I heard a lot before coming to Harvard, is that it's a competitive atmosphere. And I think kind of looking back at my freshman year, I saw just really the opposite of that in a lot of my classes. So classes are difficult, or hard at least, and you have to put in the work to get the grade you want and to succeed. But I felt like a lot of the classes, it was very easy to collaborate with other students. A lot of them have P sets or problem sets, so there are homework sets you can work on with other students, and you would find very surprising how many people are open to helping you out at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. Because everyone's kind of in that situation. Everyone knows that classes are hard, and it just ends up being that everyone's really pursuing different things in different classes. It's very unlikely that you'll have someone else with a complete exact schedule that you had. So you would never really feel like you're competing against someone else in a certain class, because everyone's doing their own thing on campus, and you find more collaboration than competitiveness, at least with classes that I took and with my experience.
Fantastic. And just following up on that, John had asked about study groups and things like that. That's obviously very collaborative. Have you had to do that a lot for midterms and finals?
I would say for me, probably not as not a lot as a lot of students have done it. I had a few study groups for a couple of my reading classes. So when I say reading, I mean that these classes don't have weekly homework sets. They're just paper classes, or you have readings that you have to do every week. And a lot of students will form study groups to tackle those readings and have discussions on them before they go to class or lecture. And it's a good way to kind of get to know all of the material without having a lot on your plate. I found that personally for me, I like to do it on my own, or at least try to do it on my own, because that's just how I studied and how I did best. And then for midterms and finals, a lot of the math or science classes will have students who form study groups and have those discussions. I, again, didn't have many of them, but it's really up to you, and a lot of students do it, and it's very easy to find study groups within your class, and it's very open to anyone.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. I'll just give the Gabbies a break again and just jump in. There's a couple of questions about the application process, and obviously you guys still have plenty of time to apply. We have an early action deadline of November 1st and a regular decision deadline of January 1st. Plenty of time to be thinking about this, and there's tons of information on our website, which I encourage you to explore. But the top-rated question right now is from Ingrid, asking how can we make ourselves the best candidate during the application process? Is there anything that you would advise us against doing? Answering the second part first, there isn't anything that particularly we say that you shouldn't do. You really should try and be yourself. The whole purpose of the application from our side of things is to get a sense of who you are, whether you'd be a good fit on Harvard's campus, whether Harvard is right for you, whether you are right for Harvard. And so it's a lot of getting a sense of what you've been up to inside and outside the classroom and what you are like personally. We obviously are a 4-year residential college. You're going to be living, making friends with a lot of different people. from around the world. And so we want to make sure that we are building a great, diverse community of people from many, many different backgrounds. In terms of make yourselves the best candidate, what I would say is that really, as I mentioned, yourself. We want to see that students have taken challenging courses over their high school career, and the transcript and your own high school matters far, far more than your standardized tests. I suppose a couple of questions about standardized testing. We are more concerned with how you've done in the context of your own high school, whether you've taken challenging classes, done well in them, and then outside the classroom, simply whether you've been engaged. We understand that some students have a long commute to and from school or a term-time job, caring for siblings. This sort of takes away from other extracurricular activities, but really we just look to see that a student is going to come to our campus and participate and be involved with student life. That's really what we're excited to see and hope to see, get a sense of, rather, when we're reading your application. So there's no one best candidate, there's no one mold that fits everyone. And going just the next highest question, Taylor's, in terms of grades, test scores, essays, interviews, what's the most important? We operate a holistic admissions process, which means we're looking at all the information you submit, and we do promise that we're reading everything. We're going to be looking at the transcript, as I mentioned, what you get up to outside the classroom, your recommendations, your essays, your interviews. It all plays in together. There's no one thing that's far, far more important than the other. Once we get a sense of who you are, that's really the thing that will take forward in the process if we think that you're going to contribute and be a vibrant part of our life on campus. Let me get over back to the Gabby. I saw there was a question about the transition to high school, from high school to Harvard, both in terms of workload, which we've talked about a little bit, but also in terms of just moving away from home. What's that been like? Perhaps, Gabby Thorne, you're from a little further afield. You're going to talk about what it's been like transitioning away to a different city and coming to a college campus?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, transitioning to coming from New York over here and being on my own in college, I was kind of ready for that, and I think I was glad to be away and kind of experience living on my own for once. But I do stress that here you're kind of not just left on your own to fend for yourself. There's always someone there to help you, from our advising structure freshman year to your friends, upperclassmen, to your teachers. So you're never kind of just left on your own, and I think that was really helpful for me, knowing that I'll always have someone there. I think in terms of transitioning from high school to college, high school and college are completely different ballparks. You're no longer in class for 8 hours a day and then maybe working for 4 or more hours after. You're in class for an hour or two, and then expected to kind of manage your time well and figure out what work you're going to do when. And I think the transition is definitely manageable. There will be some times that you'll hit some rough patches, which happened to me my freshman fall with economics, but there was always someone to help me out, my proctors, my PAF, and my advisor reached out to me when I realized economics was just not working. And I think that Harvard really does try to help you to the best of their ability and make sure that if you ever do fall, there's always someone there to pick you back up. So I think the transition is definitely manageable, even if you hit some rough patches, and there will always be someone to help you. So,
that's good to hear.
Hope that helps.
Yeah. Gabby Giotti, you're from the Boston area, so perhaps these questions are for you. There's a question about how is the relationship between students and the surrounding community, Cambridge, Boston, and there was another question about internship opportunities in Boston. Perhaps we could broaden that, and what do students get up to in Boston? Do students have internships? Do they go downtown at all? Do they take advantage of the city that's outside the Harvard bubble?
Yeah, so academically, I'll start off with that. You can take classes at MIT during your time at Harvard, and MIT students can take classes here for certain majors or concentrations. So you have that access to other universities in case we don't have a class that you want to take. Probably another university does. In terms of social life and just exploring Boston, I feel like there is a lot of stuff going on campus, so most students will end up staying here during their time of the week especially, and then some weekends. But having that access to Boston, we are only 15 or 20 minutes by train away from Boston, so it's very easy to get into the city. Just having that ability is very nice, and once in a while I really like to go outside of the bubble, of the Harvard bubble, and just go to a museum or hang out with friends in Boston. We have a lot of different shopping sites and a lot of different attractions and historical sites that you can check out, so you can easily get there. And eventually on campus you'll find that it's a little bit harder to do that just because we have so much going on, but if you want to do that, it's very easy to do it. And then in terms of internships and jobs, I know a few students who had school-time internships in Boston, and like I said, it's very easy to get into the city, so it didn't take a lot of time to do the transportation. But we also have a lot of internships offered in Cambridge and through the school, through other graduate schools. So if you don't find something in Boston, you will definitely find something in Cambridge. So it's really up to you what you want to do, what you want to explore. There's definitely something out there for everyone.
Absolutely. No, definitely. So there seems to be a couple of questions, and Gabby Thorne, if you could jump on this, about your sort of application process. And without getting into details, what were your thoughts about Harvard? And you've talked a little bit about sort of how it's been, but was there something that you were really concerned about, happy to find, and what really drew you to Harvard in the end?
Definitely. So when I was touring colleges, and going to all the information sessions, I tried to make sure that I could see myself on the campus, that I could see myself as a student there. And when I came for my Harvard tour, I just felt like this need to be on this campus. I actually stayed an extra hour and a half asking my tour guide every and any question to kind of figure out how does one get into Harvard. And I think for me, I just felt that Harvard was the best fit for me. There is a fact that is Harvard. It has great academics, great resources, but it was also just the environment that was around. The atmosphere that Harvard showed me just seemed great and seemed something that I could really get into, and I thought it was just a perfect fit for me, and I guess now I'm here, so clearly something worked out.
Excellent. Well, that seems like a great note to end on. We're running out of time, but what I would encourage, there seems to be a ton more questions here, which are all fantastic, and I'd encourage you guys to continue the conversation by emailing the Harvard College Connection. The two Gabbies are fantastic at answering emails very, very quickly, along with the other wonderful current students who help us out. Once again, the email address for that is harvardconnection@g.harvard.edu. And that is something that you guys should definitely check out. That's available on our website as well. If you're interested in learning more over Google Hangouts, we actually have 3 more scheduled throughout the summer. Hopefully, if you've seen this Hangout, you've got an email about others. But I'll just let you know that on July 9th, there'll be a multicultural perspectives hangout. On July 16th, there'll be a hangout about financial aid at Harvard, which is incredibly important. And then for first-generation students, there's going to be a first-generation student experience at Harvard, and that hangout will be on July 29th. Times for those vary during the day. We try and mix it up to accommodate as many people as possible during the summer. But I'd encourage you guys to check those out. If you follow us on our social media channels, or you can learn more on Google+, our Google+ page, something that you should definitely learn about, and you can find a lot more information. Thank you all very much for listening in. Thank you to Gabby and Gabby for all your help and your insight. And hopefully we hear from you guys soon through the Harvard College Connection or on one of our Hangouts in the future. Thank you, and have a fantastic day. All the best.